My name is John and I'm at Paint School on Instagram. I've done over $15 million in paint jobs and I'm based out of Huntington Beach, California. Aaron is at Alpha Painting on Instagram. He's managed huge commercial projects with impossible timelines and now is a few years into building his own operation out of Branson, Missouri.
And you should probably check out our full process videos on YouTube because they're pretty badass.
Our point in doing this podcast is to put our 40 plus years of combined experience to the test. We've seen a decline in the industry, and while I think it's a bit arrogant to think we can change it, we're giving it a shot. Listen up and let us know what you think. This is Paint Sniffers Podcast.
All right, we're back after 4th of July weekend. We extended it out a little bit, so we're a little late with this episode.
Dude,
but nobody's paying us, so fuck it.
Yeah, I haven't gotten the last one up on YouTube yet. I've been having problems getting it uploaded.
Yeah, for anybody who does follow along, I think we've got like 75 or 80 people that are pretty consistently following along and all that. The recording system that we use to do this remotely, we have to download the videos and then upload them. Download them, edit them, and then upload them. And for some reason on both of our sides, we're not able to download the video to be able to put it on YouTube. So I was able to do it for the podcast, just the audio version, but not the video version. So it'll come eventually.
Yeah, and I wonder if we just need to get rid of the video versions, you know?
Yeah, I mean, probably.
Yeah.
It seems like some people, I've read through some of the comments. I think there's a few people who like to do it through YouTube. One guy, I think it was Paint Terminator actually, who said that he has a premium subscription for YouTube, so he likes to listen to it that way. I guess he can turn his phone off.
Oh yeah, because you can put your phone into sleep mode if you're a member, and just listen to videos instead of having it to be pulled up and it dragging your phone, killing your phone battery.
Yeah. So how'd your weekend go?
Terrible.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, my old lady's got COVID, so.
Oh, damn. How's she doing?
She's doing good. Like it's not like her having like breathing problems and having to be hospitalized kind of thing, but she feels like total shit. So yeah, I've had her quarantined to the bedroom. This is like the 5th day now. Like I'll go to work and bring home food or cook food or whatever, and like not touch her or anything. Put my shirt over my face.
So did she like get tested and everything and do the whole deal?
I bought a fucking an like in-store
at home test.
Yeah. And I was gonna test myself too, but they only had one left, so fucking
fuck it.
I don't know if I got it, and I just showed low symptoms, and fucking dude, it's like 115 degree heat index right now, so
man, that's nuts.
The day before yesterday, I ate dinner, and then like later on at night I ate like 5 or 6 donuts.
Yeah.
And then I went to work the next day and I thought I was having like a stroke and shit.
Oh man.
I don't know if I have just light symptoms of COVID or if I'm just stroking out because of fucking Krispy Kreme.
Diabetes, yeah. Oh, that'd be a shitty way to go out, huh?
Yeah.
Krispy Kreme donuts. We went up to Big Bear. This was the first weekend I was going to put the boat in the water. And so we went down. We purchased a slip for the season. Just so we can keep the boat in the water here. And all that went smoothly. It seemed like fucking hey, this might be a smooth process. I just had to take the boat, get some kind of a tag so that it could be put in the lake. I guess they have to like inspect it and make sure it doesn't have you're not bringing like bacteria from another lake into this lake.
Yeah. Fuck.
So I went to do that, and because the boat had water in it, they automatically failed me. They said it has to be bone dry. There can't be any moisture at all. So when we did the mechanic test or a mechanical inspection for the boat, we ran water through the motor, so we can run it, check temperatures, all that shit. So that water was still in there after like 2 weeks or whatever. So automatic fail. The soonest they could do a decontamination was the next day at 2 p.m. I went back and forth to these two different launch areas because that's where they were doing the testing or decontamination. Went back and forth like 2 times, fucking towing this big old boat in and out of all these windy roads up here. So they ended up having to go back 2 o'clock the next day. Fucking took them 15 minutes. They just rinse it down with hot water and give you your tag. So then we got the boat put in the water, which was nice. And then went out, for a little spin. No heating, no overheating or anything, which is nice. When we did the testing, mechanical test, one side of the exhaust was getting warm. So a mechanic was saying I probably need to get a new impeller. So we didn't know if it was going to overheat or not. Like we took it out, we're just taking it easy. But everything was good on that. I'm still going to replace the impeller, but
Yeah.
good so far.
I don't remember what boat shit I touched on last time, but I trimmed down and my outboard wouldn't go back up. Got stuck. Then I had to have somebody come and a buddy of mine cross the wires and fucking get the boat trailered. And then on the way to take it to the mechanic, I blew fucking trailer tires. Then I had to spend all day putting tires on it, waiting at Walmart and fucking blah blah blah. I finally got it to the mechanic, and it was one of those things where it was like, we might be able to have it ready for the 4th,
Yeah.
And then they ended up getting it ready. I think it cost ended up costing me like $400 and something.
Yeah.
And then we get all, ready and stuff, and I'm going to go pick it up. And then my old lady gets COVID and we're just stuck here all throughout the 4th and stuff. So
I feel like weekend off at least.
Yeah. I just laid around, but like laying around and then going back to work when it's over 100 degrees outside, just fucking, I may have well just stayed moving.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, knowing my luck, if I were to fucking rent a boat slip, I'd go to the boat slip one day and my boat would just be underwater.
So this, we, they just launched it for us. I went there, dropped it off. I was a little worried. I haven't towed anything in a long time, like anything that big. And, so I fucking drove it when I bought it. We drove it from LA all the way to Big Bear. So up the fucking windy mountain. Something is wrong with my trailer connection. So my trailer brakes, the trailer has brakes on it, but it wouldn't connect to my truck. So I didn't have the extra braking, which was fine, but it's a wide enough boat to where going up the mountain on these little skinny roads, windy turns and shit is like a fucking butthole puckering drive in traffic for like fucking 3.5 hours from LA.
Dude, I've never paid the taxes on my shit. Like I bought it like a couple years ago. I've never registered it and paid the taxes, but I've got like the previous owners like lake tags on it or whatever. But my trailer, I noticed my trailer is fucking like 2018 or some shit.
Yeah.
The tags on it. It was like my fucking Harley, dude. I was trying to sell my Harley last year, and then I realized, oh fuck, dude, I never paid the sales tax on this and got it registered and shit.
Yeah.
So I was trying to sell it to a dude, and he's like, well, I couldn't give him the title or whatever, or I couldn't give him the title because it had never been transferred in my name from the dealership.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't want to buy it, and I was like, well, it's a fucking Harley, dude. I thought you were supposed to drive it illegally,
Yeah, like fucking... don't be a pussy.
Yeah, I just drive the fucker with no tags and shit.
Yeah.
I don't even have a fucking motorcycle's license.
Jeez. So yeah, we got it in the water. Oh, but so the driveway, we have 2 driveways at this house, and one of them is a little steeper, but it's on a like really quiet road, and then on the other side is really flat driveway, but it's on a really busy road. And so I put it on the steep side, and it's a pretty wide open area, so getting it in and out wasn't a big deal. But it's on an incline, like right where the brake would be where your hitch is, right? So it's like it goes up, and then the hitch to like the trailer tongue to the hitch is at an angle. My truck is lifted, so it's like fucking an inch and a half too low. So if I crank the trailer up all the way, I'm an inch and a half too low to get onto the truck. So when I dropped it off, I got it put up there, cranked it all the way up as much as it would go, and then I had to fucking pull uh my trailer hitch out, pull my pin out, and just pull forward a little bit so the fucking hitch just dropped off, you know?
Yeah.
And so when I was gonna I I'd been thinking about how am I gonna get it back on the truck, you know, for like the last 2 weeks off and on, like, what if I try this? What if I try that? I put it on the same way. Backed up,
What
got as
what
close
size
as I
boat is
could.
it? How long is it?
It's a 24 footer, but it's like
Yeah.
it's a big it's a big 24 footer. It's a wide boat. It's a Sea Ray, so it's like you know, it's got a head in it.
Yeah.
It's a pretty good sized boat for 24 feet. And so yeah, I got it. I fucking backed up within like I don't know 3 or 4 inches of the tongue, and then got my hitch, my ball mounted into the tongue. You know, locked it in there, and then I had to back it into the fucking little square opening, you know, on the actual trailer hitch. So I'm like trying to needle it in there. So I was going back and forth. So I got it in the square in the like I don't know what it's called, the receiver. Um, and then I had to get the pin in. And that's like so I fucking inched forward like a tiny bit, and it went back, checked it too much. Backed up a tiny bit, went back and checked it too much. Like fucking back and forth, but 5 or 6 times and I got it. So pretty fucking stoked about that. And then
I
they
need
just
to
launched
I
it for
get
us.
I need to dude, I need to do a drone video I guess for you on how me and my old lady launch. Like I fucking I'll get the boat backed up and in place. I'll put everybody in the boat. I'll put my old lady in the driver's seat. You know, we're all trimmed up. I'll unhook and fucking just get it all ready. And then I'll just jack it, dude, towards the water. I'll slam on the brakes and send her out. And then
Yeah.
she'll fire up and back up. But like it takes us literally like, I don't know, 5 seconds. And
Yeah.
then when she's coming in, I've got it down pat too. Like, you know, I've like taught her how to drive the boat, you know, in
Mm-hmm.
and out and shit like that. So then she'll
Yeah.
come in, jack it, and then I'll just have her, you know, trim up a bit and just hit the throttle and I'll lock on and just trailer it in, and then we're out of the water too in like 15-20 seconds.
Yeah. That's nice. You ever follow, I follow this, on Instagram, Qualified Captains, I think is what it's called. And it's just like fucking boat fails. It's trucks,
Yeah.
you know, that are in the water in the launch ramp, you know, fucking
Yeah,
floating
dude.
and
Yeah,
all
dude.
kinds
It
of stuff like
took
that.
us a minute to get it down and like to just have a system because like I wakeboarded a lot like when I was in my 20s, so um I was around dudes that did shit like that, but it
Yeah.
was kind of different to try and just do it with your old lady. So
Yeah.
we'd go to like the state park marina and I'd back up and I'd get the boat off and I'd tie off to the dock and then I'd go park the truck and like everybody in the boat would be all getting slapped around and it was a fucking nightmare. So I
Yeah.
just started doing it the old school way and just letting her drive the boat and just
Yeah. I was
getting it
worried
done
about
fucking
that.
fast.
Yeah. I was thinking I was going to have to launch it. The lake is so low here, like half of the marinas, you can't use their launch ramps. So you have to go to the other side of the lake. There's only one launch area that you can launch a boat in. It's like a public launch ramp. The one at the marina where we have a slip, they'll do it for you for like $60. So you just park the boat, take it off the hitch, and then they'll tractor it over. So we were able to do that because it was like me and my daughter. You know, she's 11 years old when we're fucking driving around trying to get all this shit ready to get in the lake. And I was like, "Fuck, how am I going to do this? You know, how am I going to get in the water? Just
Yeah.
back it up, try to park it, try to fucking inch the boat. Like, it would have been a nightmare. I'd be one of those guys there for like a half hour, stopping everybody.
Yeah. Oh, dude, we've sat there and waited in line to fucking launch.
Yeah.
And like people are just like, what the fuck? Like waiting on the people in front of us.
Yeah.
And then
yeah.
they finally, get out. And then, like we pull up to launch and it's like, boom. And then people are like looking at us weird, like, saying shit. Well, that was fast, or, you know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, that's a fun, I was pretty stoked. My kids had a lot of fun, which I wasn't sure. My daughter's like a little afraid of shit, very timid, but they all had a good time. So it's cool. I got to get a wakeboard tower next.
Yeah. Dude, like I said, start out with the fucking wake skate first.
I'm going to check that out.
Don't just bypass the fucking wakeboard thing for a minute and play around with the wake skate.
So you can just tow on that? Is it your feet are not strapped in?
You're not strapped in, but the padding on the top is like a sponge. It's best to wear like tennis shoes, like maybe some I mean, they make wake skating shoes, but you can just get some like, I don't know, some Converse or
water
something.
Shoes or something.
Yeah.
So
or just some cheap water shoes.
Are you sitting in the water and getting basically picked up like if you were on a wakeboard, just holding on to it or something, or are you dropping off like wake surfing?
No, it's just like wakeboarding, but you're not binded in. So just the pressure from being towed will keep the board in place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like if you wanted the kids to have a good time, and they're scared of like board sports and shit, like start them out on a knee board. And that's like they just sit in on your knees and then you strap their knees in and they can kind of just float there, and then you can, push them out and then kind of slowly catch tension with the rope and stuff like that.
Yeah. Cool.
Or traumatize them on a tube.
No, I was worried about, we just took tubes out, so I told him we're on a tube. Yeah. And I went out on one time. I had my wife is like, just get the boat lined up so I don't have to do anything, and I'll just drive forward, like don't fall off. I don't want to have to try to pick you back up, because when I'm telling her about it, I'm like, look, when you're coming around, there's a propeller on the back of that boat. Like you'll grind us up, if you don't do this right.
Yeah.
If you run back over the line, you'll grind up the line. That could fuck up the engine, like all these things, right? And so she's all freaked out about, messing something up or killing someone.
No, like I'll go easy on other people's kids and stuff. My kids are in their 20s, so like if I get to tow my kids, like I'm gonna try and hurt them, I'm gonna try and traumatize them. Dude, I'll do figure eights and get cross wakes going and try and hit the wake right at the perfect apex to where two wakes
they
are
both
meeting
combine.
And then it shoots them up in the air. Or the best thing, dude, like to really fuck somebody up is to go straight, and you don't even have to be going fast. Go straight, get them going, and then just go into a turn, right, and get them swinging out, and just the apex of the turn, you can throttle down some to make a tight turn, and then straighten up and crank the throttle down, and they'll still be turning. And just you straightening out as they're turning will like get them going like 60 miles an hour, and just throw them. Yeah, slingshot them rolling across the water and shit.
Oh man, it's gonna be a fun summer. All right, so last time we went through all Sherwin Williams products on interior side. This time we'll do exterior. A lot of them are like carryover, like the Super Paint, the Duration, Emerald. Do you use Emerald for any exterior stuff?
I've used it on one exterior. I'll use emerald urethane like on a metal door or fiberglass door or something like that. Something that's hard, that's not going to shrink and expand.
Mm-hmm. How do you like the emerald compared to like Pro Industrial? What would there be a reason when you'd use one or the other?
Yeah, I've used the regular Emerald, and I've used the Emerald Rain Refresh, which
Mm.
I washed some stuff off with a garden hose the other day that's been sitting there for about a year just to see how well it cleaned up, and like all the surface dirt just
Hmm.
washed off of it.
No shit.
Um
Yeah.
yeah. What was your question though? The
Pro Industrial versus Emerald Urethane. Because I use Pro
what
Industrial quite a bit, but I don't use Emerald Urethane that
like
much.
pro industrial
Like
multi-surface
their
acrylic or
DTM, their
oh yeah.
DTM, their they have, is Pro Industrial the modified one?
Well, the Pro Industrial is a line, and within the Pro Industrial line, there's multiple different products like
Yeah, yeah.
multi-surface acrylic, Bondplex. Fucking, there's a bunch of different coatings within the Pro Industrial line.
So I'm basically using Pro Industrial as a replacement to Dunn Edwards Arista Shield, which is their modified oil. So we'll use Pro Industrial on some exterior metal work, stuff like that. We'll put it on garage
Yeah,
doors, rain gutters, that kind of shit.
I think like for me, like just standard, like something that's previously painted, that something like a garage door. I mean, you have to go up tiers and paint something that's not going to have too much elasticity. Um, and it's not necessarily about it drying hard. It's more about it being tack free when it dries,
Hmm.
because like on a garage door, you're prone to the garage door sticking. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Have you ever had
If
one
you
stick
had
on you?
no, but I had one customer where like the previous painter had painted the garage doors with A100,
Mm.
and when we repainted this entire exterior, um, I did it was stucco, so we primed. Um, what is that? We primed with Loxon, and then it got duration flat over the top of that because we wanted to
Hmm.
block efflorescence discharge, just in case, or
Yeah.
discharge just in case. But the garage doors, I just sanded them and painted them with duration. And this was like a triplex. So one of the customers said, "Hey, my garage door sticks. Can you look at it?" And I'm like, "Well, dude, I'm just a painter, but yeah, I mean, I'll look at
Yeah.
it." But I was looking, and when they spray, I could tell when they sprayed it, the overspray wrapped around the insulation.
Mm.
That rubber
Yeah.
band or the rubber strip, and I just cleaned the backside with acetone before I
Hmm.
painted. And then when we sprayed the garage doors out, like a couple weeks later, he's like, "Hey man, thanks for fixing my garage door." Like
Yeah.
all I did was wipe the backside, because
Yeah.
the A100 was just sitting on itself, and
Yeah. Yeah.
when the garage doors got hot, they would just stick to the insulation, and it would pop the door every time it wanted to
Yeah.
open.
Yeah. We had I think one garage door that stuck where the guys painted too heavy, and in the breaks, the panels, um, paint made the garage door stick. Homeowner calls me, "Hey, you guys broke my garage door. It won't work now. Blah blah blah." Right?
Yeah.
Get over there, break it apart, sand it, touch it
I
up.
think I think but like looking at something like that though, like once you paint something that is powder coated or has a factory coating on it, gutters, downspouts, soffit,
Hmm.
fascia, any aluminum, non-ferrous metals like that. Once you paint something like that, then boom, now the customer is prone to always having to maintain that unless
Yep.
they were to replace it, right? So
That's what I tell
if
people in
you
a. Yeah, go ahead.
if you look at something like gutters and downspouts, like on a standard repaint, like we put in a lot of effort into our repaints. Like like I have multiple exteriors going on right now. Like they're all getting fucking oil primed. They're all getting sprayed and back brushed or sprayed and back rolled first coats with a sprayed second coat of duration. Whether it's flat, low luster, satin, depending upon the job, and if we're trying to augment the look of a solid body stain, or if we're hey, we want it to look like paint, so we're going satin. But I think duration is a viable coating on non-ferrous metals, that as long as your surface is oxidized.
Hmm.
So to me, to switch to a specialty coating like in a pro industrial line, like every once in a while, I might do like a pro industrial Bondplex on gutters, downspouts, and soffits and stuff, but you're talking about an eggshell sheen. So technically, it's probably going to oxidize faster than duration would. May dry
Right.
harder over a hard surface, but I try and keep it simple, like, and try
Mm-hmm.
and just specifically save, the water-based industrial or marine coatings for like specific things,
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good
versus
point.
bringing it into a garage door coating. Like, I want to simplify it, like,
Yeah.
versus, hey, I'm going to sand this and I'm going to degloss it and we're going to go with Bondplex on this garage door and it's going to be a nice eggshell sheen. Like, I really don't. You might get better adhesion, but
You might
overall,
not
like,
though.
I don't know. I don't really have any examples out there. Usually some of those industrial coatings too are prone to dry shooting. Um, some of them are technically specified as dry falls. So like, like if you're doing a fucking metal roof and you're trying to stay ahead of the wind, like your overspray is going to be drying on the shit ahead of you and then it's going to look like
Mm-hmm.
sandpaper.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's harder to use, to bring a coating like that into a residential environment, when it's
Mm-hmm.
already a bitch to do it in a commercial or industrial environment. So I try and simplify it when I'm in residential.
Yeah. That's the good point, is to keep it simple. I feel like Sherwin Williams has so many different products. Like, they're just a marketing machine. The rain refresh, I've heard tape doesn't stick to it, after you get it on
Yeah.
there. I've heard that quite a bit.
I've
But
also heard Frog Tape came out with and they do have like a pro line or like a whatever, and the rumor is that it'll stick to fucking rain and fresh, but I don't believe it. I couldn't even get fucking ethos duct tape to stick to it.
is it just like oily, or what is it?
No, I haven't put in much R&D into it, but
Yeah.
the assumption is just like you have some caulkings that are formulated and siliconized versus a straight silicone. So you have caulkings that are
Right.
like siliconized acrylic
Acrylic.
latex, or
Yeah. Yeah.
acrylic plasticized elastomeric siliconized acrylic latex and shit like that. So I think
Mhm.
the technology behind it has to be the formulation of a silica inside of the
Mhm.
product.
Yeah. That way it resists dirt. Yeah, and you can
Yeah.
wash it off. That makes sense. I haven't used it. Um, I don't think I ever plan on using it. I think if a customer requested it, I'd probably be willing to give it a try, but I don't think I have any
Yeah,
reason to
just
ever venture
just
off.
set yourself up, like, if you're going to use it, to make sure that you do it in a way to where you're not having to fucking mask it,
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Right.
paint,
Plan it
yeah,
out.
like that would be an example, like, oh hey, this has aluminum gutters and downspouts, this whole job is fucking uh emerald rain refresh. Well, let's put pro industrial Bondplex on the aluminum gutters, soffits, and downspouts and shit, and then
Mhm.
bag those off and spray rain refresh up to that. You see what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Have you so what about like super paint, exterior, duration, exterior, A100 resilience? When it comes to resilience and duration, so resilience is supposed to be the higher end product. Do you have any opinions about it? Resilience compared to duration?
So resilience, technically, the reason that it hit the market was because it's supposed to be able to endure like extreme weather within, I think it's 60 minutes, if I'm correct. It's either
Hmm.
60 minutes or it's 2 hours. So it's supposed to be able to be rained on within 2 hours.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Two
So
hours
like
after
a lot of,
application.
yeah. So the other, I mean, that's in the back of my head when resilience came out. That was the reason for that product, was in anticipation of weather. You know what I mean? So if it,
Yeah.
like where Sam is, dude, like if he's gonna get rained on all the
Right.
time, like that potentially would be a decent product for him to use. But because technically most coatings, or you're supposed to, it's supposed to be 12 to 24 hours before they get rained on.
Hmm. Have you ever dealt with surfactant leaching?
I think I have with what, like painting over surface moisture or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, or painting. So we've dealt with it a few times because we have a lot of marine layer here. And so
Yeah.
if we paint something, um, like one example, we painted some block walls. Well, it wasn't block. Well, technically it was block walls and then smooth stucco coat over the top. Um, Painted them. We get overnight moisture as in Laguna Beach. So we paint them. We finish up 3 or 4 o'clock. Overnight moisture. So supposedly with surfactant leaching, it's while everything is trying to evaporate out of the paint during the curing process, all
Yeah.
the soaps, the agents, whatever, the moisture in the air is trapping those detergents onto the surface of the paint. So it's still drying and curing and everything, but you get like they look like water stains all over the new
Yeah,
paint.
and if you touch them, it's almost the same type of feel as if a modified coating, like if the
Yeah.
hydrocarbon residue were to
Yeah.
push to the surface. But yeah, the same
Exactly.
thing can happen. Like, I mean, that it's technically that can happen if, like, say you're dealing with, I would say, what do you think? Like fall would be like the type of season where it gets down pretty cold at night,
Yeah.
but gets up into like the 60s and 70s during the day. So
Right.
everything condensates overnight, and
Mm-hmm.
then you're trying to start at 7 a.m. and you really need to, be waiting until 10 a.m.
Right.
before you're actually painting anything, and all the surface moisture and
Yeah.
dew has burned off of whatever you're painting. But to me, that's the most likely scenario for that to happen is if you're painting over, yeah, just nightly surface moisture.
Mm-hmm. That's a, interesting point. Surface temperature, surface moisture. I think a lot of people don't factor that in. When people, if I get on these forums and people are asking, not so much now, but in wintertime or getting close to winter, how cold can I paint? How cold can
Yeah.
the weather be while I'm still painting? And they're almost never talking about surface temperature. They're talking about air temperature in the daytime. They're not talking
Yeah.
about overnight while it's curing. If you're 35 degrees in the daytime and you're painting and then it drops down to 15 overnight, like that's an issue. If you have a 35-degree
Yeah.
temperature paint.
Yeah, the first year I went into business for myself, like we had a warm winter, and fucking I was trying to do everything that I could do to not have to go back to work for somebody else, you know what I mean? So I stayed
Mm-hmm.
busy doing exteriors, and interiors all winter, but it depends on the product, it depends, on your ability to, kind of comprehend
Get
this,
creative.
what
Yeah.
you're doing. So like, dude, I could have an air temperature of 34 degrees, but I'm checking surface moisture, I'm checking surface temperature, and if I chase the sun just right,
Right.
if I'm floating around freezing and my surface temperature is like 80 fucking degrees because I'm following when the sun rises and I'm chasing it
Yeah.
around the building at the perfect time and staying in the sun,
Yep.
I can keep my surface temperature up at like 80, 90 degrees when it's
Mm-hmm.
actually freezing outside, and
Yeah.
fucking, not have to deal with any failure or whatever.
Yep.
You gotta stop at the right time because you gotta
Right.
allow the shit to dry for several hours before,
Yep.
before the temperatures dip well below freezing at night. And then you
Mm-hmm.
also have, the factor like painting in extreme heat and in direct sunlight is the opposite. Like that can cause failure as well. But
Yeah. So it reminded me of that because you sent me a video where the surface temperature of some stone on a house you're doing was like 140 degrees.
yeah, yeah. No, that's just
145.
the front of my house. Like every time I come home,
Okay.
like say I have a long day or something, I come home and the sun has already went down and
Yeah.
shit. Spent like 8-9 hours in the field, and I had to go do some estimates. Now I'm on my way
Hmm.
home, and then it's fixing to get dark and shit. And I just can't help but notice that every time I walk by the rock wall, I can feel the radiant heat coming off
Yeah.
of it, just because it was so hot during the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I shot my laser at it, and it was like 148 fucking degrees. That's
But so that's an example though. Like if you're priming and painting something like that, that's hot as shit to be putting paint on.
yeah.
That's gonna flash off so fast.
Yeah, dude, it's gonna, you paint something that's that hot, it's going to instantly dry. It's not gonna
Mm-hmm.
penetrate. It's not gonna
Right.
adhere, and
Yeah, it's gonna sit
shit's
on the
gonna come.
surface, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just gonna come off in sheets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So latitude. Have you worked with latitude at all? Because that's supposed to be able to deal with some temperatures.
I think I demoed a gallon of it to paint some doors, and I think I was originally told that Latitude was designed to dry slower in extreme heat and dry faster in cool temperatures, and
Mm-hmm.
that's bullshit. With the cooler temperatures, don't use it in cold. So I may have gotten that twisted up in my head, or my sales rep probably gave me bad information, but I think that product is specifically intended to be used in high heat environments.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in terms of like elasticity and durability and application, like I said, I used it when it was cool,
Yep.
so I wasn't impressed. Like I could have gotten duration or super paint or whatever to flash off faster.
Yeah.
And
So
that,
they're
that
saying
and
it's extreme temperatures
yeah,
for
I wouldn't
latitude.
recommend Latitude in cooler temperatures. Absolutely not. I would go to, like, in cooler temperatures, pretty much all modern acrylics, all modern, at least through Sherwin Williams. Now, if you look at A100, it still has a low temp application. I think of like it's like 44 degrees or some shit like that. You can't quote me on that, but super paint, exterior super paint, when it originally came out, it was like the one of the first modern acrylics, and it said it right on the label, super temp, low temp 35.
Right.
And
That was like the first one, right? That was 35.
yeah, and then it's pretty much every exterior product to follow that has kind of followed that same mentality, as
Yeah.
so
So
pretty much most
A100
everything you
is 35.
it is 35 now.
Yep.
Are you
Yep.
positive? Because I
That's
think
what
it's in the
this one
40s.
is. So right now on their website, we've got,
Okay, they must have reformulated it, because originally it wouldn't go that low. So
yeah,
yeah, it was
35
it was in the
degrees
40s.
yeah, 35 used to be the benchmark and not very many products did that. Like Dunn
Yeah,
Edwards, I don't know if they have anything that goes down to 35. I
yeah,
think
because
50 or
34 is
55 was,
freezing. So
yeah, I think
you're
50 or 55 is what Dunn Edwards products would go down to. So, but Dunn Edwards is also um, West Coast only. You know, it's
yeah.
like Southwest only. It's like Arizona, Nevada, California, um, and Sherwin Williams obviously is across the country dealing with
Yeah. Oh,
weather.
dude, I've seen some dudes freeze some shit too. I've seen guys fucking prime walls and paint ceilings without fucking heat in a house out here, and freeze an entire fucking interior before.
Yeah, I mean it's a liquid. There's a lot of water
Yeah.
in that paint,
It,
you
what
know.
what it does is it like spider webs and shit, to
Mm,
where there's just like thousands of little
like
cracks that go
crystals.
through it. Yeah,
Oh
and
yeah,
like if you take a 5-in-1 up to it, it'll pop off almost like a popcorn ceiling, and it just litters everywhere.
yeah. Oh, that'd be fucking miserable, you know. Because if some of that sticks on there, now you're having like if it all came off, that's one thing. Some of it
Yeah.
sticks on, half of it comes off, half
No.
stays on.
Yeah.
A
It
nightmare.
doesn't it doesn't go on it doesn't come off like in sheets or anything like that. It's
Yeah,
yeah,
like
like I
the
said,
tiny
like it
little alligator.
yeah, the best way I can describe it is like if you scrape a popcorn ceiling and just, watch thousands of little pieces go
Yeah,
everywhere. That's kind of what it looks like.
yeah. All right. So I use a lot of super paint. I use a little bit of duration. Um, We do Pro Industrial. A100 I hardly use, but I do use it sometimes. If I need a dead flat finish, I'll put A100 on something. And I'll usually only do light colors if I'm going to use it, just because I don't think it holds up very well to fading. Resilience, I never use. Emerald Exterior, never. Latitude, I haven't used it yet. My sales rep was trying to push it on me recently, got me some pretty good pricing on it.
I mean, you could try it in like I said, if you're forced to paint something in direct sunlight, that's what I would try it on. But the whole deal about using it on low temperature, and I'm talking like between, if I remember correctly, we were in the low to mid 40s, and
Mhm.
I'm dude like this fucking. I sprayed some doors with it, and took forever to dry. Um, and that's like with anything outside when it's cold. But I feel like I could have gotten duration to just tack up.
Yeah. And so you feel like you could have got it to tack up. A lot of my product selection is based on my feelings about these products, like over the years of using them, having failures, having successes. Um, there are certain products, like I know Super Paint is not the top of the line product that's out there, but I do know it's really durable. I do know it holds up well long term here anyway. I do know that the fade resistance is pretty good. Um, and so anything else beyond that, like getting into the emeralds, I like duration too. Um, but last I checked, my pricing on Super Paint was significantly better than duration, but I haven't checked it in a while. Um, and
Yeah,
so like
feel,
having that
sound,
gut,
touch.
yeah, having that, you know, it's hard to get me to use many new products. I like to test stuff out, but I don't like to take chances on someone's house,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, dude, like my whole process is kind of erected around what has always been successful. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I'm
Hmm.
not out there to be like, "Hey, let's test these new fucking products with my fucking 8 and 10-year fucking outdoor warranties." You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah.
Fuck
Yep.
that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the same for me. We give a pretty good warranty on our work. And yeah, I don't want to take a chance. Like
Yeah.
I, I know how bad shit can go, if it doesn't
Very
work
few
out.
things get brought into the fold to try out. Like I have been testing emerald urethane as a new trim enamel to transition out of, Southwest Builders fast dry alkyd enamel. Um, I've been testing it for fucking like 3 years. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, and I'm pretty much to the stage to where it's going to be my standard, whether it be a trim package that is brushed, whether it be a new trim package, a pre-prime trim package. Like if I don't give a shit, it's going to get sanded and it's going to get 2 coats of emerald urethane. If I give a shit, it's going to get sanded. It's probably going to get primed with like 1107, sanded again, caulked, all that shit. Then 2 coats of emerald urethane over the top of that. But yeah, dude, I like, I like everything about it. And that's taken me 3 years to put it through the ringer and put it in the worst circumstances I can think about.
Yeah.
But I'm not just going to be like, a sales rep. Hey, you want to do a test drive on fucking 50 gallons of, duration 3.5? Fuck no, I
Right.
don't, dude.
I have probably like 5 to 10 gallons of products that my Sherwin Williams rep has dropped off for me to test out. It's just sits there. Like I'm not gonna
Yeah.
fucking test something out on a project. I've got
Yeah,
some
dude. So to me, the most critical thing is your trim package because it's going to shrink and expand. It's going to get beat up. You have to have something that touches up well with a brush. You have to have something that's brushable. You have to have something that sprays well,
hmm.
that dries fast. That
You ever
fucking
use the snap dry?
I have not.
Never? I
No.
fucking hate it. I don't know why anybody would ever use it. It dries fast as shit. It's a water-based product. Um, I mean, I guess like in a pinch, I don't know if you need to get something to dry 10 minutes faster, to get a door to dry 10 minutes faster. Um, it's really weird that they sell it. It's a Solo basically. You ever use Solo?
Yeah, fuck
Yeah,
Solo, dude. And the
you don't like it.
Solos like on somebody else's dime because they're cheap bastards. Yeah, cool. We're using Solo on giant fucking condos, or we're okay now we're
Yeah,
gonna use Solo on spec homes, or okay, cool, you're gonna pretend like we're gonna use Solo on a custom home and you're doing a good fucking job. Like the
yeah,
shit doesn't stick to anything, dude. And
yeah,
the funny part is if you spray over that shit and you have something masked off, like when you go to pull your tape, unless you score it, it's going to come off in, it's going to come off in sheets. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like peel up the wall or peel down the trim. It makes absolute zero fucking sense, dude. Fuck that paint.
So the
Solo.
snap dry is like Solo, but with some kind of an
Yeah.
accelerator in it.
Hell no.
So it's fucking terrible. I think I
But yeah,
tried it
that's
like in a court one time.
for me that yeah, there's two critical things, which is your trim package. Walls and ceilings are an afterthought. Like
Hmm.
fucking if I watered down, fucking anything, dude, it's gonna absorb into sheetrock and it's not compromised by the environment. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So like wall paint is an afterthought. Cool. I want my walls to look good. I want them to be done properly. We go through a rigorous process to do our level 5. We'll prime and fucking electrically sand, first coat and tip it off in one direction, fucking hand sand, second coat, tip it off in one direction. And so I
hmm,
mean like we put a lot of effort into our shit, but the walls are still a fucking afterthought. Like I need a
yeah,
very good trim enamel. Yeah, cool with wall paint. You don't want a product that hat bands and
yeah,
you want to be able to comfortably. I don't want to be required to box my paint because everything is
right,
electronically tinted nowadays. I want to be able to fucking buy a 5 and or buy
yeah,
30 gallons and paint a house and then go back to the paint store and get another 5 to finish up a
right,
few bedrooms or whatever, and it
yep,
fucking touch up and it match. And
yeah,
that should be a
hmm,
standard. It should be simplified for painting walls. But like I said, um if you have to go through a bunch of drama to fucking paint walls, then there's something fucking wrong. But
yeah,
walls to me are still an afterthought because we're well beyond the 1980s fucking
right.
flashing eggshell fucking days. You know what I mean?
Hmm. It is
Um,
interesting to me. I see a lot of guys who still get stuff like that where they have walls that are flashing, and I'm wondering um, if they started out with a bad surface to begin with and just didn't know it or didn't pay attention, or if they're, I know for sure some of them are starting from new drywall, and that's typically a primer issue. Like they're not building the primer right, and then your finish coats look like shit.
some products too are just either you start out with a product and you think that it's hey, this is decent, and then over time it could start hat banning
Hmm.
and or you get a bad batch or they reformulated it and something was wrong and
Yeah,
the tints aren't bonding properly and shit like that. So you
yeah,
can encounter problems with your wall paint, but I found my system for walls. You know what I mean? I'm not going to try 1,000 different fucking things. Like I'll use cashmere as a standard. um Everything's good about it. If I need to, durability, I'm just going to go pre-cat epoxy. Like I'm not going to fuck around like going through 10 or 15 different fucking wall paints just to find something that
yeah,
I like or whatever. Cashmere standard. If we're doing some production that we don't give a fuck about, it's all about the tight prep, the clean lines, the trim package, and fucking I'll throw property solutions on some shitty walls. I don't fucking
yeah.
care. Um, if we're in production, that's whatever. But
Hmm.
like I said, hospital, schools, gels, drywall, like fucking you can bring a product like a pro industrial pre-cat epoxy into a house if you needed. Like we just did a repaint where I converted all the bathrooms because they're experiencing mold issues. Just because we have high humidity levels here, and just
Yeah.
like in the basement level bathrooms, like, mold growth on their ceilings and stuff like that. So I
Mhm.
converted everything to pre-cat, so now they can clean their ceilings and their walls with bleach and shit every once in a while. But
Yeah.
um,
What are your thoughts on the A100 for exterior?
I mean, that was a standard paint in the late '80s, early '90s, and shit. Um, everybody.
Did it drop off? Like, is the quality different now than it was then, or some of the
It,
products are just better now
to
than they
me,
were
it
then?
seems about the same. But like I said, you looking up the I personally, I would probably bet $100 bill with you that whoever ran that 35-degree low temp on the A100 was wrong, and that I
Yeah.
think it's 44 degrees, or they reformulated it. But honestly, I don't see them reformulating A100 to fucking
Yeah.
have a low temp of 35 degrees.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I don't know why they would. But I'm sure that's a big seller for them. I'm sure they sell a shit ton of A100.
Yeah. A100 satin, like if you're going over like rough sawn or something, and you oil
Mm-hmm.
primed and you top coated with a couple top coats of A100, like, dude,
Mm-hmm.
out of the sun, you could get that, like on soffits and shit that aren't sitting in the sun. That shit'll last for
Mm-hmm.
20, 30 fucking years.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would stand behind it as far. So when I'm dealing with clients, I don't do as many estimates anymore. But when I do, or I'll do consultations and stuff. If we have a project and customer wants to talk about products, um, A100, I would stand behind it as far as it's not going to peel. Like with our
Yeah.
prep work, it's not going to peel anywhere ever. Well, eventually from water, but um, it's not going to peel. I would stand behind that. It's just going to
Yeah.
fade quicker.
It's going to
Like that's the only
oxidize.
difference.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's going to
you'll get a
oxidize
little
faster.
cloudy. Yeah, yeah. But on light colors, you won't even see it. It's
Yeah.
only on the dark colors we're going to notice it.
I think
But
if you're trying to be cheap, it's a decent product that won't
yeah,
fail you. But you can't
yeah,
treat, it's not a self-priming product, so don't
yeah,
be fucking just blasting it over fucking raw wood and shit like you would super paint. I mean, you
yeah,
should still prime anyway, in my
yeah, yeah,
opinion,
yeah,
but
yeah,
at
for sure.
least super paint and duration and emerald is not going to come off in sheets if you go over
Hmm.
some fucking raw wood with it.
Yeah, yeah. That's A100. I think is probably so. Dunn Edwards has Evershield, which is their premium line, and then Sparta Shield, which is a step below. And I think the Sparta Shield and the A100 compete. And Sparta Shield here is probably the biggest seller. It's a mid-grade product. Still looks good. It's still the same deal though. Like I tell clients, I would stand behind it 100%. Like as far as peeling goes, it's just going to fade faster than Evershield. I think their pigments are just different quality.
Yeah, like if we were to end up doing like a fucking masonite like a hardy board or something, I would
Yeah.
consider, A100 if I didn't have to warranty some fucking, just production site for more than 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I would throw 2 coats of A100 on hardy board. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And
What
fill
what is your exterior warranty?
8 years
Yeah.
for
Okay.
paint. But and that's, and I usually tell people like this is 8 years against, blistering, peeling.
Mm-hmm.
You could in heavy areas, like say you get one wall that just gets beat down by the
Yeah.
sun, that could oxidize in 4 to 6 years, and I
Mm-hmm.
might have to come out and do a maintenance coat on it. If you want to call me on it,
Mm-hmm.
that's fine. I would repaint it, but there's some things that we can't help.
Yeah.
So like our process, like if we're oil priming, prepping, sprayed and back roll coated duration, sprayed second coat, like I'm confident that shit's gonna last,
Yeah.
fucking 10, 15, 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
in non UV affected areas, and then like the UV, the stuff that's just baking in the sun.
Yeah.
um Shit, I don't know, man. Like maybe, yeah, might want to paint a sun affected wall, maybe 6, 8 years in. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It just
Yeah.
depends.
That's what I tell people. We'll do a 10-year warranty on stucco and we do 5 years on wood. Um, and then on decks we do 1 year.
I'm confident with wood where I live because I still have access to like the A100 fast dry
Primer.
alkyd primer, dude. That shit
Hmm.
it'll absorb it, just fucking deep into the wood, and versus like an acrylic primer that's
Yeah.
gonna, that's gonna
Sit on the
dry
surface.
due to wind and photoreactivity. It's going to dry, pretty quick, so it's not going to deeply absorb. So your
Hmm.
chance of delamination is higher with an acrylic primer over raw wood.
Yeah.
So yeah, to me with the A100 fast dry alkyd primer, dude, like if I hit that shit with a primer coat, back roll it, and then go 2 coats of duration over the top of that, dude, like I'm solid. Like
Yeah.
I don't warranty shit for 20 years, but like I'm 100% confident like any eaves that are not in the sun, like as long as some jackass doesn't blast bleach on that shit like every other
Yeah.
year and ruin it with chemicals, that shit, some of it'll last fucking indefinitely.
Yeah. I tell customers, we just did a house downtown in Huntington. Big house, everything white. Um, and the lady's like, how long will this last? My husband's gonna want to know. I'm like, really? Like it probably will never peel. Like you might under the weep screed. Here we have to have a weep screed, like 3 or 4 inches above the foundation to deflect water on a stucco installation. Um, so below that, there's no stucco; it's just straight foundation. But some stucco guys will put a little thin coat of stucco on it and just have it textured, and that shit always falls off. But I'm like, it's it it should never peel. Like if it ever peels, it's probably sprinklers hitting it. A water leak on the inside maybe might do it, but realistically, it should never peel off the stucco. Like you should have to paint just because it looks bad. It's like
Yeah,
dirt stained or faded or whatever, but it should never come off the house. Like if this ever comes off the house while you're living here, just call me. Because I'd be
dude,
curious to see what's happening.
I'm doing this house like in a row of fucking just like 3 4 story lake houses.
Hmm.
And I think I talked about it in the last one, but the house like a few houses down was painted with command, dude, and it's fucking coming off in sheets all over the
Yeah,
fucking place. But
crazy.
like I said, like it's personally, command shouldn't be on a soft substrate, something that's going to shrink and expand like wood, even though
Yeah,
it says that it's, it can go on anything, it can go on everything. But
yeah.
yeah, as that wood shrinks and expands, dude, and I think that place has only been painted for like a year, and the guy had me go look at it that painted it, and I told him what I fucking thought. And I it's the product choice, it's not,
Yeah.
you know dude,
We deal with a lot
if
of
I
that
had a
here.
rep, if I had a
Hmm.
rep talk me into some shit like that, dude, like I would, and they didn't warranty it, I would fucking pack up shop and I would go to a different distributor,
Oh
period.
yeah, yeah, yeah. We deal with a lot of expansion contraction here because we get a lot of moisture overnight. Coming off the ocean, and so it's like it'll be 70 or 80 in the daytime. It'll drop 50 or whatever overnight, but it's always wet in the morning just from dew from overnight. So we get lots of expansion contraction specifically on the exterior. On the interior, not really. We don't have very much humidity here. Well, we've had more lately, but typically we don't. Um, and so like fascia boards, trim work on the exteriors, all that stuff cracks quite a bit. And so, when dealing with customers on warranties, I just let them know, like, look, these are the areas that are going to be trouble areas. Like these joints, if they start separating, just call me. Like when we're in the area, we'll just stop by, put some new caulking in or whatever, touch it up, and you'll be fine. But if you let it go, like, you see cracks and then you let it go 3 years, 4 years, it's going to
Yeah.
crack or it's going to peel from that joint. Like that's going to be the place where it all happens.
Yeah, like one of our current exteriors, this big stain, or yeah, the solid body stain to paint conversion, full oil prime, caulk, 2 coats duration, 8 year warranty, and I feel 100% confident in that. And the one thing I did tell the homeowner, I told her, I said, these backsides bake in the sun, so you could get some oxidation like on these handrails,
Mm-hmm.
and but whether or not like if you were to do a maintenance coat on these handrails, like it's not a big deal. You just hit them with a quick coat. The process that we are doing right now to convert it, into paint, like, is an extensive process, and
Mhm.
like you won't have to do that again. You won't ever have to do
Right.
that again. Like
Mhm.
it's just a quick maintenance coat.
Yeah.
Like 4 to 6 years on the handrails. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yep.
Maybe there might be a wall that gets beat down by the sun, like on the second story.
Mhm.
No, this would actually be considered the first story, and then below that is basement level. Like this house really sits like 5 stories off the ground, but
It's crazy.
there's one wall where it just gets baked and baked in the sun.
Yeah.
Fuck, I might 6 years from now, I might have to go out there for 2 hours and paint that fucking wall to make them happy
Mhm.
if for some reason it oxidized. But
Yep.
I'm not really concerned about it.
Yeah, those are the conversations I have with people. It's like, it's very easy to do, like if you don't wait too long. If we start seeing signs of wear or whatever, it's super easy to fix. Like I could do touch up on exterior of a house if I'm like hitting the cracks on fascia board joints and touching up with a brush. Like I could do that shit in an hour or two, you know. But if you see the cracks and then let it sit for 3 years like that, now I gotta fucking scrape, peeling paint, sand it down, primer, caulking, painting 2 coats. Like it
Yeah.
becomes a lot more work. Now it's a half a day or a full day.
I have it in my warranties too, and this isn't to extract, annual or biannual money. But I have it in my contracts that if they have anybody else clean the place with chemicals, that we have the option to void our warranties from them
Yeah.
doing damage.
Yeah. That's reasonable though. I have a lot of I could get out of every warranty if I wanted to because of my language and my warranty. I could get
Yeah.
out of every single one because and it's all fair, like we're not going to cover damage due to neglect, water damage. Um, Almost every problem on our exterior paint jobs is from water damage, or cracks in the wood. I won't cover cracks in the wood from expansion contraction. We can't control it, so we won't cover it. Almost everything that we deal with when it comes to and I get enough phone calls for touch-ups and stuff like that, warranty type stuff. We just do it, like it's good for the reputation, and it usually doesn't take much to get it done. Um, and the people are super fucking happy about it. Like they're
Yeah.
really happy that they can, they paid for this paint job 10 grand a couple years ago, and they're having an issue. They make a phone call, it gets taken care of. Like that's a good way to do business. Um, but I could get out of every single one of them. It could be
Yeah.
like, hey, these cracks are happening because of expansion contractions. There's nothing I can do about it. I can't stop that from happening. Like we're in the area that we're in, it's going to happen. And the cracks happen. I told you they were going to happen, right? You waited a year, to call me on it, blah, blah, blah.
Dude, I did 2 triplexes for a fucking HOA, and it was a fucking nightmare. Like I had to deal with like 11 different fucking people, like asking me
Yeah.
questions all the time, and then I'd get put into like group texts
Mm-hmm.
because it's like fucking,
Yeah. All the
like
board
six,
members or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
6 different families fucking, asking me questions about my warranty, and they're all splitting the cost and blah blah fucking blah. But um
Yep.
it was a fucking nightmare. I don't think I'll ever do that again. But during the time, the dude that was managing me, um I did I did the whole, like I had it in my contracts that, draws were like probationary. Like I'm not sure. I just like, every 30 days, or, partial completion per building or full
Yeah.
completion. You know what I mean? I was pretty
Mm-hmm.
open in the language. I ended up doing
Yeah.
the first whole building and then billing for it. Right.
Yep.
So, and then come the second building, I was like 3/4 of the way through, and I needed to put in a draw, and the dude wouldn't fucking give it to me. And he bitched about like how we've taken too long and blah blah fucking blah. He bitched about how the windows have been masked off and like it was like they lived in a prison and all this shit.
Yeah.
And dude, the dude pissed me off really bad. I wanted to freak out, but I bit my tongue. But the whole reason we were in that spot is because they prolonged the project for like 3 months because one of the HOA members lost his job due to COVID, and then by the time we start, it put me into the fucking rainy season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's cold. It's cold in the mornings.
Mm-hmm.
It fucking gets in the the 60s or so in the days, and then it dips at night. So that dude, it prolonged how long it was going to take. We couldn't, like you were just talking about, moisture issues and stuff earlier. Like I couldn't paint over moisture. But anyway, after that, he bitched, and I was like, what do you want me to do? Like, I can go ahead and tear all the plastic down on your windows, and then we'll just do the rest of the job by hand. How about that? And then he's like, no, just do it. And, just continue doing what you're doing. And then, what happened? He was bitching. And so I'm like, all right, well, we're expecting rain. I probably shouldn't paint this wall, and he wanted me to paint it. So I painted the fucking wall, and it got rained onto soon, and it didn't wash the paint off, but I had streaks that ran all through the paint.
Mm-hmm.
And what did I do? I had to, buy like 10 gallons of paint and repaint that entire fucking wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and then like a year down the road, and I wasn't even supposed to have to do some shit like this. Somebody else somebody bought one of the units and moved in, and then she was complaining about like her gutter leaking. And I'm like, well, I'm a painter, we don't do gutter repairs, but just because we did paint the gutters and the downspouts, I'll come out there and take a look. Mm-hmm. And it was one of those metal roofs that had like the, almost like the, what do you call it? Like the tar shingle look to it. So it had like a shingle application on it. But it was a metal roof. But all over the years, that shit kind of washes down into the gutters. So all their gutters were filled up with muck.
Sand.
So I cleaned all her gutters on that side and like dug it out with my hands and threw it in buckets and shit. And then I told her that they needed to have somebody come professional clean the gutters, that it's not my deal. Yep. And then I siliconed all the gutters from the inside. Mm-hmm. And then also like one of the concrete contractors had completely destroyed her back deck and got fucking, because they had their decks report after we were done painting, and got concrete all over my walls, and I repainted that. And then like I got text messages from the rest of the HOA people and like, hey, you didn't have to do that, and hey, sorry you had to deal with that. I just didn't fucking respond, you know what I mean? And I just crossed my fingers that they'd never call me again. But that that's why it's important with weird shit like that to do a solid process and coatings that you're confident in. It's because I don't want to fucking go back and deal with nightmares like that.
100%. And that's the thing. If you're planning on being in business for any lengthy amount of time, it's really beneficial to do shit the right way early on. Not like testing every fucking new product that comes out, any new popular product on Instagram. Like you got to be pretty confident that this stuff's going to hold up. Because if you are going to be a man or woman of your word, and have to chase these touch-ups forever, like it still takes time. Yeah. Like it costs me money, if I could have my guys go out and take care of something.
That's what I was trying to get out earlier, was like, there's two things that I don't fuck around with, like my process on a trim package, so like to me, I'm not going to ever put, I might use 1107 as a primer to prime trim, but then my prep's going to go over the top of that. Like I'm going to caulk over that fucking coating. I'm not going to put that coating over my caulking. So I wouldn't use, the Centurion 400 series on door jambs, because It's a moving object, doors
Yeah.
constantly opening and closing. I feel like that's such a hard coating that it would probably pop off of the door jambs.
That's how I feel too.
Yeah, but so like emerald urethane is like the perfect medium. It's very hard, but it has just enough elasticity not to fail on a moving object. It sprays well, lays down well, brushes fucking well. Like I personally like 100% because I've tested both of these products. Emerald urethane will lay down like 2 to 3 times better than Fine Paints of Europe Eco Satin with a brush.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, dude. So like interior trim is super important to me, and obviously cabinets, but there's like 1,000 jackasses out there that'll throw Valspar on a cabinet, so it's kind of hard for me to tackle that market and try and fight how devalued that is, in terms of the fact that I'm already having to deal with that, within standard architectural coatings. And then out exteriors, dude. Like, so I won't fuck around experimenting with trim, and I won't fuck around experimenting with an exterior. Like, I'm going to use what I know works. Now, like I said, I'll bring in a few things here and there and just very slightly test them and get them through the first couple tests. And if I feel it's viable, then I'll put it on, a little bit more and a little bit more, you know what I mean?
Right.
Until you're to the point to where, yeah, dude, like I'm not just going to throw fucking a new product on a, like a fucking $40,000 exterior or something. It's just not going to fucking happen.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. All right. Should we wrap this one up then?
Yep.
I would like to get into deck coatings, exterior stains, exterior clear coats, because I think that's a pretty important one to touch on. And I think there's like a shitload of terrible products on the market for that. There's hardly any good products, to be honest.
Yeah, dude. Dealing with decks is almost like the hunt for finding a fucking good cabinet recoat paint,
Yeah. I think it's harder. I think there are definitely more good cabinet recoat paints than there are deck coatings. I mean, there's a lot to say about it, but I think exterior stains, sealers, that'll be a good one to dig into. But we'll go through. I think on that one, we're not going to stick with just Sherwin Williams because, I think right out of the gate, most of their stuff is terrible. So we'll have to kind of venture into a few different products. And then we'll go.
Don't be out there putting
water-based.
Don't be out there putting super deck on shit. That's for sure.
Definitely not.
Now there is a couple products in the super deck line that are worth that fucking test run, and I've been starting to test a couple of them, but for the majority, no.
Good oil-based stuff. Many moons ago. All right. Hopefully we'll get this one posted on YouTube. We'll see if it downloads. If not, we'll put it up on the podcast version. That's it. See you later.
Later.
As always, please like our YouTube page. Give us 5-star only reviews on all podcast platforms. If you have questions or comments, send them over to hello@paintsniffers.com or on Instagram @paint_sniffers.
You can also watch the video version of the podcast on the Alpha Painting YouTube page. Go to playlists and it will be filed under Paint Sniffer Podcast. Via YouTube, you can write into QA@paintsniffer.com.
Thank you for listening to Paint Sniffer Podcast.